You're watching Dr. Amir Sankofa Kwele live. Make sure you stay tuned, hit that like button, and subscribe. It's going down.
Hey, greetings, it's me again. I am here in the place to be. Today I've been cutting up. I don't know what it is. As soon as I get on my channel, I clam up. I'm not the zany person that I am really in real life. I'm funny, kind of. And I have fun and I enjoy life and all those things. I have an attitude. I'm happy. I express myself and all those good things. You know, I'm a Taurus, for freaking sakes. But when I don't know, when I get on camera, when I get on film, I'm just like, it's just weird. It's just weird. Anywho, I got my coffee and I'm drinking it. Anyway, I got my water. I just drank my first bottle earlier, a second ago. Well, about 10 minutes ago. Anyway, so what I want to tell you all, I want to discuss adoption. Okay. So many of us, and I mean many of us, I think that a lot of times, many of us, give me a second. Many of us have a thing about adopting. Okay, so it comes under a certain thing. Just because you're adopting does not always mean that you can't biologically have children. Okay, my case, I can still have children. I can actually, yes, I'm 47 years old. I forget my age there, but I don't want to have any more biological children unless the creator puts that energy and just be like, boom, it's going down. That's fine, you know. But in my mind, that's not something I really want to do as of right now. Not really, to be honest with you. But I do have biological children. But because I'm an adoptee or adoptive child, they don't really say adoptive. Not many people, so I guess, you know, they more say adoptee. But when I was coming up, it was adoptive. Oh, more so. Anyway, but I know a lot of times, a lot of us find that adoption, it comes with a certain, it's always, you know, you see these horror films like Orphan, or you hear the horror story about those one, I forgot what their names were, but they had to get their child rehoused because they found out that their child was a lot older, allegedly. I mean, it's some funny stuff going on with that case, but it's just a big deal. People make adoption more than what it is in a lot of cases, but in most cases, it's not as bad as you think it is, because it just boils down to having the child having the right fit for your family. See, it's like over a gazillion children in foster care or a part of the state, right? Because they can be in foster care, or they can be in a group home, or they could be staying with somebody that probably in a little while is going to give them up. They might just have, guardianship of them. Okay. And so for the most part, what I want to tell people is that adoption is not a bad thing. I'm an adoptive child. Now, I had to go through my own struggles, and I think my parents certainly were great parents, excellent parents, and they did the best that they could do. But I still had that thing in my head, and I think that if I had have gone through counseling for that particular issue, then I would have probably had my issues resolved. But half of the things that I was going through in my head, or half of the times when I was showing out, my parents did not understand what was happening, and neither did I, because I was going through it at the time. However, now, to look at the way the system is, it does not require you to do a whole lot. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think that you have to go through, that they don't qualify, and they want to adopt or they want to foster, but they don't think that they qualify. You see my shirt? Y'all go get my shirt at www.ask314life.com, or any other shirts. Like, I got a lot of shirts up there. Anyway, so shameless advertising. Yes, that's what I do. I'm a business owner. Anyway, so when you have the feeling of the heart to adopt, because it does take a special person to want to adopt. It does take, well, I would say more so foster care. I don't know if it necessarily didn't really take a special person to want to adopt. I don't really know, but I think foster care more or less. Well, maybe because I'm on the opposite end. I'm not doing the foster thing, but I'm in the adoption world, right? And so with fostering, I see how hard it is, because now we have actually found a child. So we have this child. We're getting ready to adopt this wonderful, beautiful child. I'm not giving you any information upon my child, our son, because it's not the adoption process. It's not all the way. It's not the red tape yet. But what I will share with you all is the process of getting there. And everybody has a lot of different processes. And there are different forms of adoption, or different forms in the road of to lead you into adoption. And one of the things is that a lot of people aren't in knowing of that you can actually be an adoptive, a foster and an adoption home. So meaning you'll foster the children, and if they're not able to be reunified with their family, their biological family, then you will get first dibs. So the caseworker will come to you and be like, hey, would you like to adopt Ronell? And you have a choice. Well, yeah, sure, I would love to adopt Ronell, or hell no, I'm not going to adopt Donnell, because Donnell is a piece of work and I can't do it. And better yet, find him somewhere else to go, or find her somewhere else to go. Either way, so let's take it back. Now, let's take it back. How do you get to their process, right? First, you think about it. You go, boom. Oh, I want to adopt. I would like to adopt a child for whatever reason. Whether that reason be for me to have a child within a home, or because you can't have children biologically, something's wrong biologically, or maybe you're older and you would like an older child to help. Maybe you have the gumption to say, well, hey, I would like to really do something great and wonderful to our community by adopting children. Or maybe you already have, in my case, you already have biological children, but you want to expand your family through another means, because there are all different types of adoptions. You can adopt, and I'm not going to name every one of them, but I'll name a few of them. You can get a surrogate, and anytime you're doing a surrogate, that is a form of adoption. Okay? Or you can adopt, like, if a family member states that they need somebody. You can keep it in family. They may need somebody to get pregnant at an early age for whatever reason, can't take care of it. So, and you adopt that child within the family, right? Or you can go through the route that we went through. You can go through state. You could go through state, which is the foster care system, DCFS, and whatever it's called in your state. Some states call it DCS, right? Or you can go through international adoption, and you can go to any country of the world and choose to adopt a child from a different country of the world. So, for example, if you want to go to Africa or Ghana, and you're like, oh, I want to adopt it, or anywhere, Egypt, wherever you want to adopt a child, Ethiopia, you can go, okay, well, I would like to adopt a child. It's a lot more paperwork, but if it's through their DFS or whatever they call it there, then it's free. A lot of people don't know that if you go through the foster care system, it's a little bit of nothing free, but but it is a trick to it, because you're still going to end up paying some things, but not as much as if you did it like through a private lawyer. Or you can go through a private lawyer and do it, or you can go to a facilitated home and get a child out of a home, like Lutheran Family Services. That's where I came from. So you can go through a Lutheran Family Services, and that does cost. And you're going to spend anywhere from $10,000 and up. And in most cases, I've never really heard of that. Well, I mean, I'm told that they can cost up to $10,000, but to be honest with you, I haven't seen no adoption for under really 30,000. So I've seen it really like 30,000 and up. But I have talked to certain people, and they have said it can be anywhere from 10,000 to 3,000 or more. Right. So I'm like, okay, cool. So that's another means of adoption. But through foster care system, but the only thing, the trick about through adopting through states or, DFS or foster care system, etc. The children are a little bit older. So you can get possibly a newborn, but to me, and this is what I found, and this is I'm gonna keep it all the way real with y'all. What I found is more people get the smaller children if you're in the foster care part. If you're just strict, maybe you're foster to adopt, or you in the foster care system, and if you go ahead and then your casework will let you know, hey, the child is going to possibly be getting reunified with their parent, but for whatever reason, the parent did not follow they did not follow the necessary steps in getting their child back for whatever reason. So if they had a drug problem and they just said, hey, I'm not getting off of drugs, or if they just didn't clean their house up, or they didn't have the house was under bad conditions, or whatever the case is, or they may have had a spouse that was abusive, or they didn't have a job, or they couldn't afford the child. I mean, it's many different reasons, and I'm not judging. I'm not getting into that. Listen, let me tell you something. I don't judge people's parents, because you never know. The paperwork may say one thing, but after talking to a possible biological parent, it may be something totally different. So that's one of the things I don't do. I don't judge. So I'm not coming from a place of judgment from that parent, because at the end of the day, if that child is placed into the system for whatever reason, it may not be what you think it is. It may be something total polar opposite. So I try not to have disrespect for the parent, because I know that the child that's going to be in your home, if you love that child, then you probably more than likely are going to kind of care for their parent, because think about the opportunity that parent offered you. And I just gave you several different reasons why most people adopt. The right reasons that most people adopt, right? So that's why it's important not to go in a judgment phase. And I know it can be hard, because maybe some of the things that you read, because you do actually get the paperwork on why they were given up for adoption or why they were placed in foster care. You get a play-by-play. Or if they had a good caseworker that wrote up good notes, so you under the knowing. But keep in mind, I am gonna tell y'all some real now. Sometimes they may not tell you everything, and you end up finding it. And hopefully, they're still in the foster care system at that point, and then the caseworker that they have, because they can change several caseworkers throughout the course of them being into the foster care system. But anyway, let me go back to what I was talking about. Now, when you're thinking about doing it, like I said, the first point I would say, and some of this is not necessarily going to be in order. The first point, you may not necessarily, I'm not going to go in order. So, usually the point of conversation is that you normally would want to do it. Either you've been around somebody that was adopted, or you were adopted yourself, or you had a neighbor that had adoptive children, or maybe they have foster kids or something like that. Anyway, so when you go through that process, so you thinking about it, you go, okay, you notify your local DFS, what have you, if you're going that route. Let's talk about the foster system. I'm going to go more with that because I have more knowledge about that. Now, I do have knowledge on hiring a lawyer because I've done that too. We've gone and tried to go through a lawyer, but it felt the feel of it didn't feel exactly right. There might be a later thing that we might want to do later on down the line, but not right now. I don't know. That's not something that we necessarily want to do right now in that way. But kudos to some of you that do. That's not a bad route to go either. I want to tell you, I think that's a more cleaner route. But at the same time, a lot of those in trying to adopt through a lawyer, a lot of times the biological parents would like to still have a relationship with the child, and that's kind of, to each his own. I don't think that that's necessarily bad, but I'm on both ends of that because by me being an adoptive child, I think I would have possibly benefited from knowing my biological mom and growing up. But at the same time, I know that would have been really difficult for my parents who raised me to have that. And I think that's what it was for us. We felt like if we're raising this child, we invest in money and yada, yada, yada. And we're solely responsible for this child. We're giving this child our best. We're giving this child unconditional love. And we're taking on everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever. This is our child. So we didn't really necessarily want the third party to have, and they call that an open adoption. And I don't necessarily want that, because if you, whatever reason you may have given up the child, I would prefer, because some of them do it, some of them with and you kind of read, and you kind of will read it, and that's not necessarily written in stone, because that's something you want to do. You may not want your child to talk to the other parent until they turn a certain age, or you might be open with it, and that parent might be a part of your family, and that is not the case in a lot of situations. But I've seen it where the child was productive in that case, and I've seen it where it wasn't so good, So that, again, the choice is up to you on why people text me so much when I'm online. I don't know why they do that. I can't necessarily say, again, it goes with your family. But I think for us, that was the biggest turn off for us. Now, we didn't disagree to know who the biological parents are. We didn't disagree to even maybe having a side conversation with them, like, okay, maybe once a year, maybe send a photo or, via email, but we weren't doing a talk thing. But then we were kind of like, no, I would rather wait till they're 18. But again, to each his own family, But when rights are severed, or when the rights are terminated, I should say, not severed, but I should say terminated, then obviously, for whatever reason, based upon the paperwork and based upon what it may not be a good idea if it goes through DFS. I would not recommend that. But if the child get older, but I still think it's important that you know who their parents are. I think that is so important, because when they turned 18, they're going to start having questions after a certain time. And that way, if you know who their parents are, you can go, well, I do know who your biological, your tummy mommy is. And I have, would you like to see a picture, and you can show a picture. I deem that important. And well, I'm not going to share that portion with you all, whether or not we've done that with our son. I'm not going to share that portion. I'm just not comfortable with that yet. But let me go on. So when you enter the system, so anyway, you notify from your local person. How you doing, Real Talk? How soon after having a bio child should you foster? How soon after having? That's a great question. I don't know. It depends on your family size financially, because I didn't realize it when because I haven't had little children in so long, y'all. My oldest daughter will be 31 in March. My middle son, he will be 28. He'll be 28 in April. And my middle son, I'm not used to saying that. My middle son will be, he's a year under him. So he'll be 27. He'll be 27 in December. So, you understand what I'm saying? And then I have 2 stepchildren, a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old. But that is different. They don't live here full time. You know what I mean? So that's a little bit differently. This child will be living here. Our son will be living here. He is younger. He's under 7. Well, I just tell y'all he's 5 years old. So that is different. Now I have grandchildren, and I've been Grammy. No, they don't call me Grammy. I'm lying. I'm trying to sound hip and cool. No, they call me Granny. Okay, they call me Granny. They don't say grandmother. They say Granny or grandma or something like that. They call me something to that degree, depending on which child you're talking to. If you're talking to a 12-year-old, he's calling me Granny. If you're talking to them other 3, and I got 1 on the way. So, okay. So your question is how soon? So I would say it depends on what your family dynamic is. If you just birth out a child and you're like, well, I want to adopt a child, that would be up to you. But you better do your you better do your research upon that child before you bring your child to the home. In general, you should. But especially if you have a newborn baby, because this is something I found out in the system. Some children are not good. It might be a trigger for them. Some babies may be a trigger for them, or they may be angry, and it just might not be a good fit. Or in some cases, you might have some little children that love little babies. You know what I mean? So I would do my research up on, you have to put your information out there on what type of child you want. But I would say it depends on you. I can't tell you I can't tell you what that will work for your family, because it depends on your energy. You might be able to juggle a newborn baby and then bring a an older child into the family, or another baby, or another 5-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 1-year-old, because you can still get children in the foster care system that, or babies. They do actually have babies into the system. They do. But more than likely for you to get that young, I found, and it's not always, but there is exception to the rule, so don't take my word on that level, because there are exceptions to the rule, that there are children that you can get. Because I remember at one point in time they did send me an email for a child that was really a baby. I can't remember how old it was, how old he or she was, because I don't even know the identity, what sex it was, or anything like that. But there was a child that they asked us about, and it is what it is. We didn't go for it. But again, when we started off, we was kind of on the verge of looking for under 12. We were kind of on that verge. But keep in mind that when you go through the foster system, or you go through DFS, whatever, the children are going to be newborn and all the way up to, it could be 21. That's a whole nother conversation. But they do where they fostering, where they or growing out, where they grown out of the foster care system. Okay. But foster children do get a lot of benefits. A lot of people don't know that. I'm talking about for themselves if they foster out of the system. Well, go ahead and ask them. You can interrupt me. Please ask. If you have questions, I will tell you what I know. Yes. It depends on how many children you get. So for example, if you have a 3-bedroom, then you have to get a child. I forget how many can stay in the house. I mean, how many per room. But I've seen some of the case where they get kind of desperate. So I've seen certain people have 3 children in a room. I've seen that. However, it depends on your caseworker. It depends on the need and necessity, or how big the room is. That also incorporates. We have pretty spacious. Y'all have seen some of my areas, but we have a pretty spacious home. A condo. We have a pretty spacious condo, so we could get a certain amount of children. And then just because, and this is another kicker to it, just because let's say that you have children outside of the home that are underage, they also count as obviously your children, but they also count them. Now, your grown children don't live with you. No, they're not counted. But anybody that stays in the home or still under your custody, they count them. So even if they're not in the home. So again, it depends. Everybody has to have a bed. Everybody has have their own living space. Let me open up another one so I can see all of your questions. Let me make sure I can see all your questions. Hold on, y'all. Let me open up. Boom. There we go. Okay. All right. So yes, house size do matter, but let's say that you have a 2-bedroom, and okay. Well, let me go back here. One of the things they are going to say, biological siblings can only share a room. So you can't have, when you're going through the adoption process, right? Now, after you adopt your child, I mean, that's all on you. You know what I mean? You do what you want to do. But normally how they do it is if you're adopting separate siblings. So let's say that you're adopting one child from mom A's womb, okay? And then you adopted another child from a mom B's womb. They can't share the same room. You have to have a separate living quarters for them. If they're not, they have to be biological, okay, in order for them to share the same room. Does that make sense? But if you have a 2-bedroom, yes, you can adopt you know. But I've never really seen where anybody adopted like with a 1 bedroom, unless it was special circumstances, but they would probably say, hey, you might need to get another room. But I've seen them again, I've seen them adopt, I've seen people adopt like 5 brothers and they were all in one room, and or they did like, yeah, they were all in one room. I've seen that. And then other cases, again, it depends on your caseworker, the state, how the need, how much the need is. But they definitely want, because it's really hard to find a family to take on a group or a sibling set. That's what they call it, or a sibling set. It's really hard to take on that. Because my husband was like, oh, no, we're not taking on sibling. I was like, come on, let's do the sibling set. Let's at least do 2. And he looked at me like I was crazy. He said, are you crazy? I was like, yeah, I guess. Do you have your own home? Do you have to own your? No, you do not have to own your home. You can live in an apartment, condo, whatever. No, you don't have to have your own home. They don't give a damn about that. Nah, you ain't got a home yet. You could even stay with your mother. You can even stay with your mother as long as you can pass your background check. Now, you can't have no child. You can't have no record, and you can't have like, any child like, whooped and beat your child or murdered your child or something. You know what I mean? You can't have nothing on your record in the forms of abuse, right? None of that. Excuse me. Can't have any of that on your record. So, but as long anybody within the home can't have any traces where you did where somebody got a case against you where you did some pedo stuff, right? But yeah, you can stay with your mom, you can stay with your father. It could be you and your father in a home, like you and your father, or you live with your father and you want to adopt children. You can do that. Or you stay with your cousin and your cousin is like living there, and your cousin may stay downstairs in the basement. As long as you got enough room, then you can certainly adopt, or you and your cousin are roommates. They'll still let you adopt. Yes. Nope, not true. Nope, not true. That's a stereotype. Now, back in the day, they was kind of hard on that. But now, same-sex couples, it was one time that same-sex couples could not adopt. But now, same-sex couples can adopt. Single mothers can adopt. Single fathers can adopt. Okay? But they have certain stipulations. Now, in some states, I've seen it where that a mother can adopt a boy or a girl, but a father couldn't necessarily adopt a girl in some cases. But I've seen, but again, I've seen it where a single father adopted a girl and a group and a boy. You know what I mean? And it was no big deal. Or he adopted all girls. Again, it depends on the state, but yes, you could be a single parent. They really encourage that. They're not tripping off of it. Again, you could be same sex. They will adopt, you will be able to adopt a child as same sex partners. And you can be an Amish and adopt children. They don't even have electricity. I'm not trying to diss the Amish. I'm just telling you the truth. Amish people adopt all the time. Did you know that? But yeah. So they have it where you can adopt, and you can adopt outside your race. If you want to go, hey, I want to adopt a Spanish child, a Mexican child that speaks Spanish, or a Puerto Rican that speaks Spanish, or what have you. You can do that. Certainly you can do that. If you want to adopt a white child as a Black woman, if that's what you want to do, go for it. It's going down. If you're a white, you see this all the time. If you're a white woman or a white man, if you are 2 gay white men, y'all can adopt all the Black children you can afford. Okay. So let me try to run down. If you didn't know that, okay, no problem. I will shoot. Any questions you have, y'all ask away. Now, let me I might have to brush my energy up on that. On some things. Okay, so what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to try to give y'all things that you have to do in this process. Okay, so first when you come in, you like, okay, First process is it to for you to go ahead and take the classes. That's the first thing you do. So you go in, you're going to probably take about 3 classes, 3 mandatory classes that foster, 3 to 4 classes. Foster care people take them, as well as you being the adoptee. So the classes are going to be basically on dealing with the children. They're going to give you an intro to what adoption is, the different forms of adoption. And now it's a lot easier now because of the COVID, because now you don't have to travel, because in certain cases, I'm telling you, one class, we had to travel like an hour and 30 minutes. We was like, dang, that was like the closest class. And another class was like around the corner, right? So now the classes, if you take classes now, then the COVID, they will have it where you can do it online. Now, and then I recommend, this is optional. You don't necessarily have to take that, but I think it opens you up for more children if you take the trauma classes. So if you're going for adoption, please take the trauma classes. It's good for you to take anyway. Let me be clear about it. It's good for you to take. I've taken them, and I'm telling you, it'll get you to understand more. And by me taking these classes I took, they're like parenting classes, but they're not. They kind of go more, and these classes are college credit classes. Boom. A lot of people didn't know that. So if you wanted to be an advocate for children, for adoption, for children in the system, you can actually work in that field if that's what you want to do. But just on certain points, you have to figure out what points of it is. But I do know that they're college credit courses. Okay. So a lot of people don't know that, but they're college credit courses. Okay. Anyway, so, and whoever is adopting the children, you have to, and the classes are free, by the way, classes are free. So if, let's say that you're adopting a child in your home and it's you and your mom, then I would also have my mom to take the classes along with me. You know what I'm saying? So she gets certified because she's more than likely going to be your babysitter, right? So you take these classes, you get started, you get a certificate. They send it to your email. They physically give you one, right? Well, if you're online. But anyway, so you get an email. You got to let your caseworker know. You have to notify your caseworker, hey, I'm taking this class. And you are given, when you first start it, you are given a caseworker. And I've had different caseworkers. You're going to have different caseworkers through the process. So sometimes it's kind of hard to get connected with one, but I am still connected with one of my caseworkers still. Now, different people have different caseworkers. You're going to have a caseworker and the child is going to have a caseworker. And then the foster family, I think, has a caseworker possibly, or they kind of just there. I don't know. That part I don't remember. Okay. So you take these classes, you pass them, you do good or whatever. They don't really give you tests. You just have to kind of participate, stay awake, and just take notes and ask questions. And pretty much, boom, you in there, you pass the class. Okay. I can't remember if we had to take any, but the classes are really interesting, especially even if you're online, it's kind of interesting. It's not just them reading and going, what you think about that? It's not just a school. It's a school type of environment, but it's still very interesting. And I think is really worthy. Now the very first class you take, it makes you rethink about wanting to adopt. It makes you go, I don't know about this. Because I'm telling you, when we first took that first class, he was like, I don't know about this. But the class is basically designed to let you know this is not you going to be like Joe Clark coming in and saving, or like Punky Brewster's father. You know, you remember Punky Brewster, the show? They doing a reboot of that now, actually. Shout out to Sherry Johnson. But it's not going to be a walk in the park, because a lot of these children have trauma. Okay. I'm just being honest with you. I got to be all the way real with you, and then sometimes the trauma may not be as bad within the home that it is until they get into the foster care system, because you're taking them away from where they know. And then sometimes they have to be rehoused, and they have to take them from this home to this home, because this home might be getting ready to change their mind on wanting to be a foster parent, or they might not have enough room, or they may be getting ready to adopt, or they may lose their license, but for whatever reason, a child is bad in the home, just not doing well in the home. I don't want to say bad. They're not doing well in the home, so they might have to take the child out of that home and put them in a different home. So just think about the child that has gone to this home, to this home, to this home. You don't think they're going to have trauma? You know? And then you don't think they already had trauma. Let's say they don't remember their parents, but they still had that trauma from the womb, right? So they're displaying all this trauma. So quite naturally, in the neglect, you don't know what a child been through. They might have been through severe neglect. They might have been through drug abuse, or they might have came from a mother who did drugs. The father did drugs. The father might have been violent. The mother might have been violent. I mean, or she might have been, or the mother might have been paranoid, schizophrenic, or had some type of mental defect or whatever, you know, a mental health issues, right? The grandmother might have kept the child for whatever reason, and the grandmother was too old to really do much with the child. And the grandmother was basically barely babysitting, but the mother didn't want the child to, you know, be lost, so she did her best. And for whatever reason, they had to come and take the child out. Either way, you taking the child from where they knew, whether it was dysfunctional or not so much, you know. Or the parent didn't want the child anymore, because there are those cases where they might not have been able to raise the child. The parents might have died. Those are those cases as well, okay? Anyway, so just understand that the child has trauma. Just put in your mind that this child has trauma. Now, what type of trauma is where you get within the child. So, okay, so after you take the classes, you're going to get geared up for your home study. Okay, so what is your home study? The home study is not just them walking through your home. This process is going to take a minute. They're going to probably come to your house probably a total of 4 to 5 to 6 times. It depends on what you have. So it will behoove you to understand everything on a list. They're going to give you a list of things that you have to have in your house. They are going to get into your business. So you might as well just, if you're a private person, they get ready to get all in your Kool-Aid. They're going to get all in your shit. I promise you, they're going to be all in your shit. They're going to want to know all your shit. They're going to want to know what kind of draws you were. Then during this process, you got to pass an FBI scan. You got to do fingerprints, okay? They want to make sure that you're not wanted anywhere. They want to make sure that you don't have any molestation on your record. And basically what I was telling you earlier about not having committed any crimes against any child or anybody, right? Then what else? What else do we have to do? And you're also going to have to go to the doctor and do a physical. So on that physical, they're going to ask, the doctor's going to examine you, etc. They're just going to take your blood pressure, or you're on any medication. At the time that I had my physical, I had broke 3 of my toes. So that was the only thing that they had to bring up on my situation. They do ask you, can you still get pregnant? You know, in most cases, can you still produce children? They do ask you that. Let's see what else. Okay, so after you do that, they're gonna walk through your home, because if you can't pass that, then what's the point of the home study, right? That's one of the things they're gonna do. And then everybody that's in your home has to go to the doctor, has to take a physical. So if your children are staying in the home, they have to have physical, and everybody in your household has to have an FBI check, DFS, even your 5-year-old, like your 10-year-old, your 9-year-old. Seriously, your mother, your uncle. So if you got your little brother that's staying in the house with you, I wouldn't recommend that he be in the house. I'm gonna leave it at that. I mean, what you do. I'm not gonna recommend anybody break laws. But what I'm gonna say is, I'm gonna tell you that I wouldn't allow my brother to stay with me if he got a criminal record. That's what I'm gonna tell you, because that's gonna mess up your chances for adoption. Okay, for adopting. So. Yeah, they're going to have to, everybody in your family, everybody in the household is going to have a criminal check, okay, or a DFS check. And it's 2 different types of checks that they do. And I just told you, fingerprinted, FBI, and then DUFS cases, to make sure that Usually they don't have any DFS cases, any things against children in any way, harm and hurt. Okay. All right. So then you assign a caseworker that deals with a particular caseworker. And what they do is that's the home study process, what I was just telling you. They come to your home. Oh, before I tell you that, you gotta have, if you have, they want to know your income. You have to fill out a lot of paperwork. They're gonna interview you first. They're gonna more than like loans. They usually have you to come to the office. They interview at the office and get a feel for you. Okay. And they're gonna ask you just some normal questions. What you think about your father, your mother, your grandmother? How was your childhood? Yada yada yada. Little stuff like that. I wish I could. Well, my paperwork's over there. I don't feel like getting it. But they're going to ask you questions like, what was your childhood like? They're going to give you multiple choice questions. Explain to me what type of parent your father was. Who was you raised by? What are all your parents and family's name? And they're going to want references. So you're going to have like a thick paperwork. It's just like, it's almost like, it's like getting a job, I'm telling you, but it's deeper than that because you're gonna have your paperwork gonna be about like that thick, a folder. You're gonna have like a folder of paperwork to fill out. Okay, so once they do that interview, they're gonna send you home with paperwork. You're gonna have to have like references. You're gonna have a certain amount of family members, a certain amount of friends, a certain amount of people that know you. Some can be family. You're gonna have some family to fill out, and then you're gonna have like family, friends, co-workers, people that know you, right? You was gonna ask about income. Yes, you have to be able to make a living. They're not gonna be all like, well, like a house. You know how when you buy a house, they'd be like, well, you have to have X amount of. They're not like that. They just want to know, can you afford to take care of the child? That's really what they want to know. You don't have to be rich to get no child. Some people who have gone for children had like worked at McDonald's, had like a fast food restaurant job, and still was able to adopt a child. So don't worry about that. Well, I mean, if your name is on social media, most people, I don't know. I've never heard them say, I've never had my caseworker come to me and say, hey, I was on your social media, and you were doing this, but you think about people. Okay, so let me answer that question. There are many YouTube channels of people who adopt children. Okay. And they have YouTube channels, Instagram, and all this kind of other kind of stuff. And that did not prohibit them from adopting. So I'm gonna leave it at that. So a lot of times with those families like that or people like that have social media, they will volunteer and say, hey, I have a YouTube channel, yada, 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 because they might be their income, right? So I don't think that necessarily, I think that they more than likely they probably do it, but I don't think it's a deal breaker unless you own there smoking crack or something. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You ain't on there robbing a bank or something crazy. You know what I mean? So I mean, you know what I mean? Most normal people are gonna have like pictures of whatever they do for a living. They're going to have pictures of their children, their family. They're going to have pictures of, hairstyles, new outfits. They got their cars, them in the living room, them sitting on the floor, they at the club, whatever, and little stuff like that. I mean, they ain't going to be all like fine to me, like, let me look at this. It ain't like that, but I'm sure they do probably a little bit, but I don't think it's that bad. You know what I mean? They know I'm a life coach. You know what I mean? They know what I do they know what I do. You know what I mean? So it's not like that though. You know what I'm saying? So if I could do it, trust me, but I don't have a record though. I don't have a record or anything like that. I mean, just work in a movement and stuff like that. But other than that, I don't have issues like that. But, so another thing, and that's a great question, though, by the way. So another thing, they're going to want to know, you're going to have to do an income sheet. how much you make. They're going to know how much you got in your bank account. Yeah, they ask questions. I'm telling you, they get in your business. They're going to know about your sex life, y'all. Yeah, you like what? They're not gonna be like, well, how you do it? Do you do it from the left? Do you stroke it from the back? No, they nothing like that. They're just gonna be like, well, do you all have a healthy sex life? That's what they're gonna ask you. Because because they want to know what type of relationship, because they want to know if you're a couple. So if you're a couple, they want to know that you all are stable together, that you're not just gonna break up the other day, because there's gonna be another trauma to the child. If you're a single parent, they're going to be like, well, what's your dating life like? Because they don't want the child to change your life. You know what I mean? If you have to, yes, make adjustments, but to totally change your life. So if you're a dating person, I will be like, yeah, I date. You know what I mean? I go on a date probably once a month or something like that. But you don't have anybody that you are in a relationship with, but you just kind of, trying to find somebody decent or whatever. They're not, as long as they know that, and you just go out maybe once or twice a week and your social life, stuff like that. And they do, in my case, the biggest concern that they had with me on social life is that I don't have a lot of friends. I'm just not my thing, but I had references. I had a lot of references, but I wasn't really. They was concerned about my social life. They asked my mother-in-law that. They asked my mother-in-law, and they asked a couple of my children, 2 of my children that. But other than that, they ask about, they want to make sure, like, if one of your parents died, they want to pass away, they want to make sure that you have mourned their death, or if you had miscarriages, that you're kind of, I don't want to say over that, but I want to say over that. They want to make sure that you have mourned and worked on healing from that. Or if, you know what I mean, because they don't want you taking on that energy with that child to be withdrawn or any of that kind of stuff, But I was just really honest. I'm gonna tell y'all truth. You gotta kind of be honest though with them. Don't really try to, because you're gonna have to cover up a lie to cover up a lie. I just kept it real. We kept it real. Like, for example, and then you have to, okay, so let me tell you this. So when you're filling out the multiple choice questions, you gotta be ready to answer why you said this. So, for example, you might put on there, it'd be like, well, how would you describe this person's personality? So on one, it was like good-natured, happy-go-lucky, adventurous, responsible, whatever. And then it had something like moody. So my husband put moody, and then I put moody on his. Okay. So, he was like, what do you mean moody? The caseworker was like, what do you mean moody? Because they're gonna try to, sometimes they be trying to put some stuff in there. They'll be trying to put it as if you are like you moody. They don't understand, like, once, sometimes couples get moody. Sometimes a person is absolutely normal. I have my own business. My husband works. And I have hormonal changes sometimes. And sometimes my hormonal changes, I'm not feeling it, or I'm just not in a good mood today. I don't feel like being bothered. I don't want nobody talking to me. I don't want nobody breathing on me. I don't want to smell your itchy miyaki. If my daughter called me at the wrong time, at the wrong day, I'm going to get aggravated. If she asks me to do something, like pick her up or watch her kid when I don't feel like it. You know what I mean? When I already had plans or something like that, So that is absolutely normal to be moody. You know what I mean? So you ain't feeling it. I mean, what human being do you know that just go, hey, I'm happy? Hey, that's abnormal. If somebody's just happy all the time, that's something to be like, well, and then they might be like, well, why are you're always happy? So why are you always happy? You don't never have bad days? You know what I mean? I'm telling you. So you have to just be understanding that you're gonna be asked certain questions. And the casework, okay, so after they're gonna ask a whole bunch of questions, they're gonna ask your family all kind of wild questions. I'm just letting you know, they're gonna be like, well, what type of mother? And then you gotta leave the room in your own house with it, and then they interview your family. They do in-person interviews, or they'll do it over the phone. Okay, then they come to your house. So after the first visit, they come to your house. they already, now keep in mind, they don't expect your house to be spick and span, but you know, whatever. But I would definitely, there will be a time I would definitely keep my house clean. I'm just gonna let y'all know. Because they already, the moment they walk in your door, they already looking around. So for example, y'all, I have chakras. I have the chakra flag over there, and I have a chakra, the chakra symbols, and I have unks and shit, all this stuff. Okay, I didn't have this at the time, but I had unks. I had the tree of life is over here, the elephant. I mean, I got all kind of stuff, you know, all kind of, you know, all kind of stuff. And then I got an altar over there. I kept all that up. I'm not finna hide who I am. You know, I kept all of this stuff up. You know, and they just kind of walked around. They already looking at your stuff. And this on the first day. And this is not the exact house visit. Now they give you a list of things that you have to have. In the case where they do work with you and tell you what you need. Okay. So I pretty much already understood that. So only thing I didn't have by the time we did the visit, when he did the walkthrough. Okay. So one of the things I am going to tell y'all. So let's say you have detergent. Right? You have detergent. So if you have detergent, you got to make sure your detergent is put up out of the way so the child don't drink it. If you have peroxide, cleaning solutions, any of that stuff, you got to put it up so the child can't reach it. Okay. You have to have running water in your house. You know, you have to have electricity, obviously, right? You have to have food in your refrigerator. Please, on your grocery day, please don't, you know, sometimes cupboards be burned, you know. Please make sure you don't just have ketchup in your refrigerator, okay? Please make sure that you don't just have mustard and mayonnaise. Have some food. They're gonna open up your refrigerator, look in your refrigerator. Yeah, they look in your cabinets, okay? You have to have a medical, you have to have a first aid kit. I'm sorry. You know, you have to have a first aid kit. You have to be able to you have to go up stairs. You have to, if you have not go upstairs. You have to have, okay, so if you have 3 floors, let's say you have 3 floors in your house, you have to have a fire extinguisher on each floor. So I'm just gonna tell you, you have to have a particular fire extinguisher. Now you can get those from Walmart. Okay, ain't real cheap. I got like 2 for, I think it was like $60, 2 for $60. Less than that. It was less than that. I'm lying, but it was really reasonable. And you have to have a particular one. Your stove has to work. Your refrigerator lights have to be on, because I know some of y'all let the light bulb die. You be like, I'll bump that. I know it's in my refrigerator, but make sure then he has to make sure that they have to make sure that your heating and cooling system work. Okay. Let's see what else. They want to make sure that your house ain't trifling. They want to make sure you don't have no bugs and no rodents and stuff like that. So just make sure you don't. Just keep getting your place exterminated. If you have that problem, just get it exterminated. You know, stuff happen. You know, just get it exterminated, whatever. But your whole goal, you don't want to have them to keep coming back. When he kept coming through, I would just look on a list and I asked him what type of fire extinguisher it was. And he told me that was the only thing we didn't have. Your paperwork. If you have been divorced before, you got to have that. You got to have your divorce decree. If you have been married, you have to have your marriage license or certificate. If you have your car insurance, you got to have that. If your car registration, I'm telling y'all, listen to what I'm telling y'all. If you have a job, you have to have your check stubs. They have to prove that you have worked, that you're working. Okay. If you get SSI or whatever, you can even adopt a child if you get SSI. Seriously. Yes. So if you get SSI, you got to have that paperwork. You have to have the summary, your income. They have to know what your income is. So you got to be able to prove what you said on the income sheet. So if it's on the income sheet, you have to provide that information. Let's see what else. Okay. I told you about the classes. I told you about, okay, so you have to get approved. Once he approves it, once he does the walkthrough or whatever, if they find out, if you need extra stuff, they'll tell you. They're like, okay, well, you need to get this, this, that, this, that. They give you time. They don't just say, oh, you ain't passed, goodbye. You know what I mean? They give you chances. You just have to, but only thing we didn't have, but that wasn't even for the official visit that he had. He was telling us when he just came over, when he was interviewing us. Because they'll keep coming. It'll be like they're part of the family. So I think he came about 4 times. And we was doing like the corona when corona first hit. So then we started doing video calls. But like I said, before we passed our inspection on the first try, on the first, before he did the official inspection, excuse me. We passed on the first try. But like not the day before, but the visit before the inspection, he was basically like, do you have fire extinguishers? He didn't look through it, and we was like, yeah. If you have firearms, okay, that's important. If you have firearms, you got to make sure they are locked up. You have to separate, locked up and put high up. And put the weapon, the clip and the bullets have to be separated from the gun, and it has to be locked up. What? No, they just have to be locked up. They have to be locked up. What else? Now, sometimes what they'll do, if you depend on what type of casework you get, when they're doing these visits, sometimes they will just automatically walk through your house. They'll ask you, they ain't gonna just walk through your house. They'll walk through your house. They'll be like, well, you'll be like, well, can we look at a couple of rooms? They're not doing official visits. They just already getting stuff done so they can prepare you so you don't have to, wonder what you all need. And so they'll measure your room space. So your room does have to be a certain feet for a certain amount of children, but they're not all like, okay, you're about 5 inches off. You're about 12 inches off. It's not like that, but they just want to make sure that you ain't putting the children inside of the closet. You know what I'm talking about? Like a little small closet. You know what I mean? They don't want their room to be in a little closet, unless you didn't rehabbed it and made it. It's huge. You know what I mean? All medicine cabinets, liquids, and all that kind of stuff need to be put up. They want to make sure you have food. They want to also, this is another thing. So they want to make sure you're in an area where the hospital is a certain ways from your house, meaning you can get to the hospital really quick. They want to make sure the schools are nearby, that you have schools, that you have CVS, Walgreens, in case they have to call a prescription and that kind of thing. Hospitals, they want to make sure that you have a hospital near you. They don't want no hospital where it's an hour away type of thing. That's no. Let's see. Oh, and you have to have the birth certificate of all the family members that's in your home. And they're considered in your home, even if, let's say that the child stays with another parent, not absent parent, but they stay with the other parent. So if you have joint custody, or they do any type of visits, you have to have their birth certificates, their mother's names and all that stuff, because they're going to do a check on the child, not the mothers. They're going to just on the children. So they want to make sure that they have that. They need the children's social security numbers too. And you have to have a social security card, your ID, your rental agreement, whatever your rental agreement is, your electric bill, your gas bill, your did they ask my cellular phone bill? I don't remember if they did. No, they didn't ask my cellular phone. And then you have to fill out an application. I tell you had to fill out an application too. Well, I already told you had a lot of paperwork to do. But a lot of paperwork is based off your personality, how you are, how your childhood was, how you and your husband or mate get along. If you're single, they're going to ask you the dynamics with your children. They're going to ask you that anyway. So, for example, my children got interviewed. They asked my children, like, what type of mother she was. And do you think, and anybody they ask, make sure you put down good people, because they're going to ask, do you think that they're capable of raising an adopted child? Do you think they have the capability to deal with it? Now, that caseworker, watch what you say. Let me tell you that. They're going to write every single thing down that you say. So if you be like, no, I don't really like her like that. And they be like, why don't you like her like that? You know what I mean? Like, what? I was just kidding. It was a joke. You know what I mean? I'm telling you, they write all this stuff down. All this stuff is going into your home study information, and I'm telling y'all, it's going down, and y'all gonna be looking like, man, that ain't what I meant. But they do allow you to explain why you say whatever you say. Like I say, he gonna be like, well, why did you say she was moody? Or why did you say she liked peanut butter and didn't? Let me answer your question. I'm sorry, give me a second here. Boop. Okay, I have to go to bed. Thank you for the live. We'll catch a replay, whatever I miss. Whatever I miss. Oh yeah, please do. So okay, so once you get done with that, there's going to be a board of people like the caseworker, the supervisor, and DFS, whoever did your home study. Well, right now in some states, in my particular state, they had an outside source do our home study. Okay, DFS didn't do it, but they was from another adoption home. Okay, they were still government technically, but it wasn't really DFS. It was another. They had an outside source do it. Okay, they're doing a lot of outside sourcing. So a lot of people at one point in time, the sources, the DFS will handle the classes. Now, even on down the classes, a lot of people outside of they're having like different foster homes, different adoption homes come and do a lot of the work for them. They outsource them because some of these caseworkers have like a pile of children that they have to deal with. I appreciate you coming by Real Talk too. So they have a lot of people outside of that they have to deal with, right? So they don't have time to do all these things. So they are outsourcing a lot of things. So definitely keep that in mind, okay? Okay. Ooh. All right. So once they have this little board of people, you know, sit back and discuss on whether or not they feel like you qualify. They're like, okay, boom, you qualify. Okay. So you get an email or a phone call and they're like, hey, Miss Such and Such, you qualify for adoption process. You receive a letter, then they'll send you to some websites. They have letters. So when you go to the websites, like you can go to, like, for example, Kentucky website. I'm from Kentucky. So they have a website where you have for your local, and then they have the universal all across the country. So you can adopt a child. Now it's a little bit more, it's harder work to adopt children outside of your city or state, but it can be done. Okay. Now, one of the things that I do know, a lot of children in the Pennsylvania area, I found that a lot of them aren't really, they want to keep those children normally in the area. Now, it's going to be some cities that only want to keep the children in that particular area, or certain children they might want to keep in that certain area for whatever reason. And some of it is because they have a sibling that they still want them to have a relationship with. Okay. Which is another story, and they may have been split up. This child was maybe raised by their father. I mean, they have like 3 different dads or something like this. 3 children, 3 different dads. Two of the dads was like, okay, we're gonna take our own children, and one other child was like in the system. So they still may allow them to have contact with each other or have visits. So they may want to keep them in that area because of that reason. Okay. So that's what I want to tell you all. So definitely keep that in mind. Now, I'm going to tell y'all something. Let me tell y'all this. Now, when you are adopting a child, let's say that you all are in the same state, but y'all in the same city. The thing about that is, or wherever, or if y'all in a different state, city, whatever, both, right? It is your responsibility to go and pick up the child. They're not giving you no money for that. That's going to be your that's going to be your money in your gas tank. Or if you have to get on a plane to go get the child, rent a car, that is your money. That's what you have to do on your own. DFS or the state is not going to pay for that. So definitely keep that in mind. Now, I did tell y'all that it is free, but little things like that will cost you. If you have to take a CPR class, that is going to cost you, and you're going to have to take a CPR class. But with Corona and everything going on, it got kind of weird. but that's your response. You got to pay for that financially. Okay. You going to those classes, although the classes are free, but your gas money and going there ain't, if you're going to be going there. But more than likely, if you go now, if y'all dealing with it now, then you're going to have, then more than likely it's going to be a scenario where you're online, so you don't have to, just, but, doing these classes, they are sometimes do kind of want to see your face and things like that. Okay, so let's say, okay, so what you do is they'll give you a particular password, and they'll give you a login, basically your login information. So you log into the website, you look up, and then you have privilege to there what they call a summary, a child summary, or a brief summary. They'll have a brief summary in certain certain websites, the internet, the ones that's across in your own city. I found that you will have more information for your own city as far as the summary, or in some cases you may have to email or have your caseworker to email the particular other caseworker for the kid, for you to be able to see their summary. And what the summary entails is this: when a child was born, it may not have the year, it might not have their exact birthday, but it may have the year. It may say the child was born 2015, or it may say the child was born April 2015. Okay. But they're not going to tell the exact birthday, and they're not going to have the child's first and last name. They're just going to have the first name of the child. They're not going to have the parent information. They're not going to have their names, but what they will have is this. They'll be like, because when you go to so if you go to the original website right now, they'll just have Janelle. Let's say the child's name Janelle. Janelle likes to play Paw Patrol. Janelle likes cuddling. Janelle has and they'll have say keywords that you'll kind of know the child has a lot of trauma. So they'll be like, the child would have to have a person within the home that it will keep structure for the child to go by, and be able to discipline. It'll say certain things. I'm trying to think of some of the words, some of the language, that how you can kind of tell that it's going to be a challenge, a little more challenging. Okay. And some websites you can automatically go to. I mean, the ones that you have the login information. Some of those will have, whereas you will have to fill out another application on the website. And then put your home study, attach your home study on there, or you already have your home study, because the caseworker does provide you with the home study and everything that they say, and they have to finalize it. And if you agree with everything, you say, yes, I forgot to tell you all that. If you don't, then you have to discuss it, and then that's going to take a longer process or whatever. But hey, you want to get it right. Okay. Make sure your name and everything is spelled correctly, because they was messing up on our names. Okay. So on the website, they'll be like, can you take a child with moderate behavior? It'll be like moderate, mild, or no behavior. I would always check. Hello?